While Israel may be at war, the war at home over the economy, inflation, and the deficit continues. Obviously, domestic affairs don't stop just because there's war abroad. And here to talk to us about some of those issues here when it comes to the money on Capitol Hill and in the White House is Brandon Arnold, the Executive Vice President at the National Taxpayers Union. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So the Congressional Budget Office just released its monthly budget review, and the numbers were not pretty. Apparently, the budget deficit is $1.7 trillion, which is double what it was previously, which is, these numbers are just astronomical. They sort of belay human expectation. How the hell did we get here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Congress has been absolutely irresponsible managing the federal budget, both Republicans and Democrats alike. This isn't a partisan problem. They both spent too much. They've run up deficits over the years. That was exacerbated certainly by the pandemic, but it's been a long-standing problem going back many, many years. You know, the last balanced budget we had was in the late 90s. So it's been decades of fiscal mismanagement. And then on top of that, what we've seen with this interest rate spike is it's become increasingly more expensive to finance this deficit spending. So when debt rolls off the books, which it does every few years, we're having to replace that with new, more expensive debt. That's creating this debt spiral that is driving deficits even higher.
Sure. Now, Brandon, you mentioned that this is decades in the making. Last I checked, there have been both Democrats and Republicans in the White House, Democrats and Republicans in charge of both houses of Congress. So this isn't simply a Biden problem. It's a Trump, it's a Bush, it's an everybody problem, right?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And I think one of the problems is that Americans have become desensitized to deficits. We've just stopped caring as much. People say, well, we have a $1 trillion or $2 trillion deficit. It seems like monopoly money at that point. It's just numbers on a sheet of paper. But what we've seen over the past couple of years is those numbers actually do matter. And we're starting to see, for instance, inflation run rampant. That was fueled by the pandemic era spending. We had these supply constraints. And then on top of that, we just started spending money, writing these stimulus checks to each and every person in America, spending money like it was going out of style. That really exploded deficits. So there is a price to pay for mismanaging the federal books. We just didn't see it when interest rates were low, when supply chains were functioning normally. When one of those things started going askew, or in our case, multiple things started going askew, that's when people are really starting to pay the price and waking up to the fact that we do need to manage our finances much better.
I think that's a great way to phrase it, is pay the price, because, you know, we are paying the price, but the politicians don't seem to be. I just don't see any politician taking charge on this. It feels as if there's no incentive for politicians to not spend money recklessly. It doesn't really seem like anybody is willing to take the unpopular decisions that may impact people badly in the short term, but in the long run would be better for the economic health of the nation.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The problem is there's a political incentive problem. So if you go out and secure money for a local museum or to repair a bridge or so forth, you're a member of Congress, you come back, they throw a ticker tape parade for you.
Right.
You're a hero for bringing back those federal dollars to your district or state. But when you're able to enact a 3% cut to the Department of Energy budget or the Department of Education budget, at best, you're going to get nothing. At worst, you're going to get pilloried for it because you're hurting our energy security, or you're taking money for children, or what have you. So there's just really no political incentive to roll up your sleeves and get rid of even duplicative spending. You know, the Government Accountability Office every few years puts out a report on duplicative programs. We have multiple programs promoting financial literacy across dozens of different agencies and departments. Maybe we should consolidate those to save money and increase government efficiency. But there's just no will to do so because the political incentives aren't there. All that hard work would not be rewarded the same way that, again, bringing home money for that museum or for that park or what have you would certainly be rewarded by your local media, by your constituents back home. Maybe
the people who are planning out these financial literacy classes should be taking financial literacy classes, because it seems they're making decisions that aren't particularly financially literate. Brendan, I think that one of the issues here, as we've sort of talked about, is that maybe economic issues just aren't as sexy as they could be. And forgive me for the term that's sexy, because I feel like in the news, when you hear things like we've been discussing Israel, obviously Israel is a topic that gets a lot of clicks, it gets a lot of attention based on the fact that there are just these insane images that we're seeing outside of that country. But economic issues just don't quite get that same attention. Brendan, do you think that there's a way to make those issues more palatable / more attractive to the Americans so they don't just kind of roll their eyes when they hear things like, tax increase, percentages of the federal budget? What should we be doing to make those issues more salient for the American people?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to tell people that these economic decisions, these policy decisions that are being made in Washington and in state capitals have a real impact on our day-to-day lives. And we're seeing that more and more with inflation. You know, when you go to the gas station and you have to take out a second mortgage to fill up your pickup truck or SUV, all of a sudden you wake up and say, maybe there's something else going on in Washington that I should be paying attention to. When you go to the grocery store and it costs you 20, 30% more to fill up a cart of groceries with the exact same products that you were filling it up with a year ago, then maybe you should start asking questions about what's going on in Washington. Now, Washington doesn't control prices in an absolute sense. There are other factors in play, but there's no question that some of the lousy policies, the irresponsible policies that are being enacted by members of Congress and by this White House are making things much, much worse.
Well, I do want to actually follow up on that question, because there are a lot of different blame games going on right now. Everybody's pointing fingers at somebody else. A lot of Democrats will try and argue it's the corrupt corporate oligarchs who are trying to price gouge during a time of high inflation. Some people will point to the Biden administration directly and say, you're doing these things that are making things worse. The inflation policy is actually making inflation worse. Some people will point to the Fed. Where do you see the responsibility being meted out? Is there truth that it is price gouging by corporations? Or is the Fed being way too aggressive or not aggressive enough with interest rates? Where should we be looking when it comes to how the prices are going up, and where should we be looking to getting these prices back down again?
Yeah, I mean, there's never a singular reason. There's never a singular cause for these broad-based economic problems. But we go back to Econ 101. When you have supply constrictions, which we've had, some of them are man-made. Think, for instance, of the energy space. When you cancel leases for oil and gas extraction, you are creating supply restrictions. When you prevent goods and products from being imported into this country, we raise the cost of bringing in things like raw materials. You're raising the cost to do business. You're hurting our manufacturing sector by making it more difficult for them to produce airplanes or cars or what have you. So when you go back to those basic economic principles, it becomes pretty clear that the government has repeatedly put into place things like restrictions on our energy and gas sector, like tariffs that have raised costs for consumers and manufacturers alike. You know, these are some basic economic principles that are manifesting themselves in higher costs for consumers and businesses and really hurting our ability to compete globally, which is a huge long-term problem if we don't address it.
Brandon, about 30 seconds left here. Should Americans be concerned about the direction of the economy, or is there anything at all to be maybe a little bit hopeful for?
There's always room for hope out there. I mean, I think we do have a very resilient economy, and I think no matter how hard politicians try, there's only so much they can do to muck it up, because there are so many private incentive structures out there for businesses to make things more efficiently and cost effective. So I think there is a lot of reason for hope out there. We have a great innovative private sector that is always bringing forward new solutions, new ideas, and new products that we should certainly be excited about.
Brandon Arnold, National Taxpayers Union, thank you so much for your time, sir.
My pleasure.
All right, SNC continues next.